But if Jesus was the CEO of your business, he would choose to leave Nazareth. He would choose to go and demonstrate God as a living entity present in people's lives today through miracles and do religion differently. A few years ago, I thought I was running a successful Christian business. I followed every rule. I hustled non-stop. I did everything by the book, and it almost cost me everything. What this taught me is there is a shocking difference between running an Old Testament business and a New Testament business. And this alone changed my life, changed my business, and changed everything about my world. You see, most businesses today are stuck trading in an Old Testament way. And in this video, what I want to help you understand is, are you trading in an Old Testament way? And how can you go and move from the law or the rule book into the New Testament way of running your business, just like Jesus would do if he was the CEO of your business? You know, I went to an award ceremony for the financial services industry just a few months ago, and something significant struck me when I got to individually speak with the top 5 performers in this business's function. What struck me was the top 5 did their business radically different to everybody else. Everybody else did it plus minus the same way. The top 5, however, they did it similar, yet very different. Some of them just did it to excess. They employed more people, got more leads, made more phone calls, sold more things. They just pushed it harder than anybody else. But 4 of the 5 actually did their business so differently to the other 150, 200 people there, it actually blew my mind. When you look across every industry, the businesses that do the best always do it differently to the rest of the industry. Another great example of this would be Elon Musk and Tesla versus Ford, General Motors, Nissan, Toyota, Subaru, so on and so forth. Tesla has simply outperformed all of them in the electric vehicle department. In fact, it's outperformed many of them, period, and what they've managed to achieve in 80 years, Tesla has achieved in just 10 to 15 by choosing to do the automotive industry differently. And here's the problem. Many of us have got a wish to fit in mindset, and we wish and feel a need to fit in with our industry. You know, we want to be celebrated in the industry as the best in the industry because we think that that's a signifier to how successful we are and how good we are. However, the best of the best stand out and are often not celebrated by their industry or not celebrated for a while because they choose to do it differently, like Jesus chose to do God differently versus the Old Testament itself. And so what is an Old Testament business? Well, an Old Testament business is a business that's trapped by the industry norms, the way that we do it. They comply to those industry norms. Often, Old Testament businesses look similar from one business to another. And if you go and look in your industry and go and look at 10 businesses that do plus minus the same thing as you, what you'll notice is they use roughly the same language, roughly the same visual stuff like colors, images, and video. They make roughly the same promises, have roughly the same packages, products, pricing, and yet we all want to have radically different outcomes. Let's just stop for a second and let me ask you, what are your goals as a business owner? I'm going to bet that your goals and your desires are to have a significantly better tomorrow than you have today. And so the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament is your current industry in its Old Testament way of doing it is keeping you stuck in today, where we keep trying to do the same better, expecting better outcomes that just really never come. But if Jesus was the CEO of your business, he would choose to leave Nazareth. He would choose to go and demonstrate God as a living entity present in people's lives today through miracles and do religion differently. He would choose to move beyond the law, the complicated law, the traditional, normal way of doing it, that often leave people feeling purposeless and out of control and struggling to get adoption or customers. where price becomes a battlefield, or even worse still, in Old Testament businesses where price is dictated to you. Jesus would leave all that behind and come up with a new, more miraculous, living version of doing business that would create a legacy that lasts for thousands of years. And so if we go back to businesses that fall within the Old Testament, businesses that fall within the Old Testament have a fascination around their product or their service first, and then struggle to find people, usually by a reverse engineering process of how much do I need? This simply goes against what we were told by Jesus in John 13:34, which is a new command I give you. Love one another as I have loved you. You must love one another. Simply, Jesus is calling us to love others more than we love ourselves, which means if we run our business on an I and my basis, I want this, I need this, it's my business, my way, my product, my expertise, my service, my staff, really we're choosing to place other people after us as opposed to before us. And so a New Testament business will place people and purpose before product or service, and will allow the people and the purpose to design and dictate the product, not be led by it. You see, a New Testament business will truly put people first, others first, and God himself first, and will sell people a product or service that they want to buy easily, they're ready to buy, and that they don't need to be convinced to buy, where the product or the service gives people 25 or 100 times more value than what it is they pay, and value is only measured by the customer, not by the industry. In the understanding that in a New Testament business, God will always provide for us after the equal sign. Therefore, we don't have to worry about what our goals are. We have to understand that the input is more important than the output, and the output always takes care of itself. In an equation, you could understand that 2 plus 2 makes 4. And so if you want to make 5, you just need to do 3 plus 2. It will make 5. Therefore, you don't have to worry about the output. It's just a byproduct of what you put in. And so in a New Testament business, we think about people first, times by a product or service that they want to buy without needing to be sold to, will give you the output of things that are beyond your wildest dreams, because we simply trust in God. And so how do you, beyond that, transition your business to be a New Testament business? One that Jesus would run if he was the CEO. Well, I've made some notes. First of all is to build community at the core of your business. Place people and purpose ahead of everything else. Provide the customers what they want, not what they need. Understand that your mission must look at the transformation of the customer, not the transaction of what they get for what they give. A New Testament business will serve first and sell second, focusing on bringing humans together at every part of the business. And a New Testament business will understand that love, not law, is the foundation of its business. Instead of scarcity, a New Testament business will promote abundance and attract customers that wish for abundance. And this business under grace will create life-giving relationships between you and your customers, where they just find it easy to refer their colleagues, friends, and family to you because of who your business is, as the first Bible that somebody reads, not what it is and what it must do for them at a price. What I'm really asking you to do is leave Nazareth like Jesus had to leave Nazareth. To step away from your industry, to be big, brave, courageous, and bold. To do your industry differently, and in doing so, usually get invited back by your industry in 5 or 10 years' time, when they celebrate you as leading the industry as opposed to being a follower. Now, if you want somewhere to go and see this in action, the Old Testament has examples for us about how this can work. One of the best ones that I like is in 1 Kings 7, 8, 9, and 10, which talks about King Solomon transitioning from prince to king to nation builder for God, palaces, temples, building his nation so big that it attracted the Queen of Sheba to find out how he did it. He gave her all of his advice for free, and in return she paid him 125 talents of gold, plus minus $250 million worth of gold in today's money, as a thank you for what he'd given her. She then went on and referred all of the other kings and queens of Arabia to go and visit Solomon to receive his guidance, and made him the richest man who's ever lived. The remarkable thing is, for a service-based consultant, as Solomon ended up being, he didn't say, "Whoa, Queen of Sheba, you can have 4 hours with me and it costs you this much." He said, "Sure, let me give you my best, and I'll trust you to give your best to me as a thank you in return." Now, I don't know how you apply that in your business, but I do know that Jesus went around giving his best for free consistently, without ever asking for anything in return other than love God, believe in me, follow me. And I wonder what would happen for you if that's exactly what your business did. Create a crowd of loving customers who follow you, and increase that crowd size every single day of the week for you, simply because you choose to adopt what would Jesus do as the practical leaving Nazareth question to ask on a daily basis.